What happens when two girls say goodbye to their 9 to 5 to follow a dream that doesn't really yet exist? In this episode, we're going to take you behind the scenes of why we quit our jobs to start a travel company from scratch.
No roadmap, no investors, just a whole lot of trusting our gut. And spoiler alert, it's not always glamorous, but it was the best decision we ever made.
This is Born to Be Local, a podcast where we take you behind the scenes of building a business and figuring out life in our 20s.
Buenas tardes.
Buenas tardes.
Welcome to episode 2 of the Born to Be Local podcast.
Last episode, we told you guys about the crazy story of how we met in a bathroom line, but today we're really going to talk about the moment that changed everything.
When we quit our jobs with no plan B to start this travel company, all we had was an idea and courage that came from a lot of tequila.
Yes, we're going to tell you about what our lives were like before we actually started this travel company and get into the details of why we think that sometimes quitters can actually win.
Let's do it.
Gosh, what were we doing before we started this craziness? I feel like I personally have lived another lifetime. Like it actually feels like I've lived a completely different life and am in my second one right now. But I feel like it's relevant to know kind of like our backgrounds and how we got here today and made this crazy decision to do this, because it's not an easy decision, but it was the best decision we've ever made. So I went to Loyola Marymount University in Los Angeles. I was class of 2019 because I graduated a semester early, but class of 2020. So I was one of the people that graduated during COVID. And I studied marketing. I always knew I wanted to study marketing. I've always loved it so much. I'm extremely fascinated by why people purchase things, how people purchase things, and like the creative psychology behind marketing. So I always knew I wanted to do something in marketing. I just didn't know exactly what it was. When I was in high school, I actually owned a production company with my ex-boyfriend, and we did wedding videography and photography. And I loved doing it so much. So that was kind of like the jumpstart of my creative background. I did photography growing up. I had the classic Canon Rebel. I think I got it when I was like 13 or 14 years old, which also Aaron did. It's just a crazy background. But I've always been interested in photography and creativity, and I did that throughout high school. So I owned this production company. It was called Modern Swell Studios, and we did wedding videography and photography, and I loved it so much. It actually made me fall in love with the wedding industry, and I loved doing that, and I kind of continued that creativity to when I got into college and went to LMU and was studying marketing. So I did a lot of content creation for my marketing classes. We worked with companies while I was in college. My two professors from LMU, I hope that they watch this because they are seriously part of the reason that I am good at marketing nowadays and have like such a well-rounded like background in marketing. So in college, I loved that so much. I continued to work for brands when I was in college. So I was doing photography on the side. I kind of fizzled out of the wedding industry just because I was in school, and started to get more into the film industry, which is really what I wanted to do, at least what I thought I wanted to do, which was marketing in the film industry. I wanted to be on the business side of film production. LA is the best place to do it, and I was living there. And even though I hated living in LA, I hated it. It was just the best place to be for that. So I started working for a virtual reality company, I think like my junior year of college. And this is when I actually fell in love with that job. I was working really closely with people in the industry. I was doing like every marketing task you could possibly want as their intern. And then they ended up hiring me part-time while I was still in college. So that really that job was like what made me extra fall in love with marketing and being on the business side of creative production. So I wanted to finish school early, so I busted my ass to do so. It's 2019. I'm currently living with my boyfriend at the time, who I was with for almost 6 years, and I'm finishing college, and about maybe 2 weeks before I finish school, I get dumped. And then about 2 weeks after that, COVID hits, and the company that has just offered me a full-time position, like literally my dream job, ends up not being able to hire me because of COVID. So I went from like being in what I thought was like the most perfect scenario possible, living with this boyfriend that I'm so in love with, and getting my dream job, and everything was kind of stripped away from me within the span of literally like 2 weeks. I had to move home because obviously had to move out of my apartment with this boyfriend, and COVID was hitting. So I ended up moving back to Orange County, California, which is where I'm from, and felt extremely lost. COVID was like the worst time possible for me because I had just gone through so much and then had to move home. So during this period of time, during COVID, I started working for a gym just because I needed to do something. Like, it was really hard to find opportunities because obviously there was all these cuts happening. They weren't hiring newbies, especially like fresh out of college. So it was a gym that was open. I started working for them. I did social media work for them, and I still continue to work for a client that I had doing social media work for them as well during this time period. And then maybe like a year into COVID, I found a job at a marketing agency, which is the job that I had right before I started this extravaganza of Born to Be Local. And for that job, I did marketing. Obviously, I did ads. So I started out doing Google, and then I started doing Facebook. I came in again, like as an entry level, and a couple months in, they made me a manager. So I was managing like over 25 clients' ad accounts and doing all the social media for this job. Even when I worked for the marketing agency, I was still doing photography for companies on the side. And I was able to continue to do that and loved it so much. So that's a little bit about like my background in marketing and business and creativity. But really, when I was working for the marketing agency, I was good at it. I'm not going to lie. I was good at it, and I was doing good, and I was making good money, but I just was not happy doing it. I would go in every day just like praying that the clock would go by quicker so that I could leave work. And I just knew that like there was something more out there for me. And that is when I met Erin and this craziness happened.
We do have very different backgrounds, but I feel like there's a common theme throughout all of it, like knowing that we wanted something more and having the guts to like change our lives and go after what we really wanted. But for me, I've always been a very creative person. Like, I always wanted to work in fashion. I wanted to be the creative director of a brand and own a clothing line. And like throughout high school, I would always be sewing my own clothes and thrifting clothes, and I had my own YouTube channel when I was like 12 or 13, posting makeup tutorials on there. Like, I was always getting myself into something creative. I had a fashion blog. I was doing all the things. So when I went to college, and before we get into college, I have never been a school person. I hate school. I fucking hate it. I hate it. My junior year of high school, I missed 41 days of school. How is that possible?
Oh.
Don't know how. But, well, I do know how. I was skipping all the time. I fucking hated school. But I went to college because that's what you're supposed to do. That's like where all my friends were going. I didn't really know what else I was going to do, so I went to college. Even though I wanted to work in the fashion industry, I knew that. And surprise, surprise, after a year and a half of being at University of New Orleans, I dropped out.
We got a college dropout on our hands, folks.
We do. I could not do it anymore. I was just sitting in these classes like, this is, why am I here? So I dropped out, and I was like, okay, you know what? I want to work in the fashion industry. I'm going to start working for New Orleans Fashion Week and work with them for a year, see how that goes, and, like if it doesn't work out, I'll go back to school. It ended up working out. I had the best time working with New Orleans Fashion Week. Like, that's what really gave me a love for event planning and just being in that industry of like planning things and meeting new people, and I loved that aspect of everything. So I was like, okay, this is it. This is what I want to do. So I always had wanted to move to California. Like ever since I was a little girl, we spent a lot of time there for my dad's job growing up. So I always knew like that's where I wanted to be. And once that year ended of working with New Orleans Fashion Week, I was like, okay, I'm doing it. I'm moving. I'm moving to LA. I'm moving to Hollywood. Oof. Rough. But it was like the place to be for what I wanted to do, even though like it was such a transformative time in my life and I'm very thankful for it. Wasn't what I thought it was going to be. But I set up an internship with a stylist before I moved out there. So I ended up moving out there in December 2019. So I'm there, I'm working with a stylist, I'm living with a roommate that I found on Facebook. Okay. Didn't know her, never met her. Talked to her on FaceTime before I moved out there. Sent her my rent and deposit, Zelled it to her, never met her. Okay. But it was a cute apartment. Good deal too. So I'm living with her. I'm doing this internship with a stylist. First day of my internship, I was like, this is not what I want to do. I do not want to be a stylist. I do not like this at all. But I knew I liked more of like planning shoots and the production side of things. So I ended up quitting that. I couldn't do it anymore. I did not like that at all. And then COVID hits and I am in LA, the worst place you could be during COVID, with a roommate that I just met 3 months ago from Facebook. And that was when I was like, wow, what is life? I need to get a real job and figure out what the fuck I'm doing in life. So I started studying to become a financial advisor. I was like, I'm going to go back to school. I took the life and health insurance exam, passed it, which good for me. I could still study, you know.
PSA, this is new news to me.
I don't think I ever told you this.
You guys, she's never told me this in her life. This is new news to me. You wanting to go back to school and taking an exam is crazy.
Yeah, I know. But COVID hit me. I was like, I need to get my life together. I need to get a real job. Like, I can't just be out here lollygagging, trying to do all these things. Like, I thought I needed a real job, quote unquote. So my COVID was I spent 3 months sober, studying, reading, figuring out what I'm going to do, like real estate, financial advising, life and health insurance. And then it hit me as I'm studying for the Series 63 or whatever. I'm like, I'm not cut out to be slinging life insurance.
You are the liability here.
I am the liability. What the fuck am I doing? I'm not going back to school. Like, what am I doing? I was just so lost at that time. Like, I was looking for some kind of direction and like some kind of guidance, and like that's what it was for me at the time. But so anyway, went through all of that. And then I was like, okay, you know what about real estate? Because I always wanted to I still always will want to invest into real estate, and like that's always been in the back of my mind. So I'm like, you know what, why don't I become a realtor? So I start studying to become a realtor, and I get a job as a realtor's assistant at Compass. Beautiful office on Sunset Boulevard in West Hollywood. I was like, oh my gosh, this is the dream. Like, this is what I'm gonna do. After a few months of being there, I hated my life. That was the first time I ever sat at a desk and was staring at a computer for like 8 hours and putting together presentations and going on the MLS and blah, blah, blah. I hate the office. I hate school. I hate the office. So I quit that job. And after that, I was like, I don't know what the fuck to do. Like, I spent a month really depressed. Like, honestly, did not leave my couch. I had all of these dreams and ideas, and like I had a vision for what I wanted my life to be. I knew I loved to travel. I knew I loved like taking photos, and I really honestly I wanted to be like an influencer, like be a social media person, but I was so insecure at the time that like I could never take that step to really put myself out there and like commit to it, So I've always loved photography. Got the Canon Rebel at 13 years old.
We got the Canon Rebel around the same time in life. We were also depressed in bed around the same time in life.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I feel like the Canon Rebel is just like the starter pack to every photographer's career.
totally.
So I was dating this guy at the time that I, quit the real estate job. I'm very depressed, figuring it out. I meet this guy, we start dating. He has all of the camera equipment. He was a YouTuber. And he had all this camera equipment, and so I started playing around with it. And one of my friends needed photos for, she was like a personal trainer, so she needed some like photos for her personal brand. And I took those photos for her, and they were really good. They were really good. So she posted them, I posted them, and people started asking me what my rates were. I was like, my rates? You're trying to give me money? Like, sure, okay. So I like tried to figure something out real quick. And I just started taking more pictures of people and like charging them a little bit of money. Right when it kind of fell into my lap, I guess, I knew like, oh my gosh, this is it. Like I always loved being on set. I always loved taking photos. Like it was always a part of me. So when this happened and I was able to like use my skill set to create something on my own time and like with people that I choose to do it with, I was sold. I was working with models, influencers, brands. Everything was going well in LA. Did not like the LA life. Moved to Orange County. Now I'm driving to LA for different shoots and everything, and then starting to work with like some local people in Orange County, but it wasn't really the same. And I was kind of getting burnt out on it because I was doing all of these shoots for other people, and like it had to be their vision. It wasn't what I wanted. I felt like I was doing something creative, but it wasn't like my creativity, really.
I feel like this is the perfect segue into why we wanted to be entrepreneurs, because you can be a really creative person, and at the end of the day, when you're working for other people, there is always going to most likely be an ounce of your creativity that is withheld in because they have a different vision. It's just a part of working with the team, and I think like that is such a great point. I always knew I wanted to be an entrepreneur, like always. I think like if you asked my mom, she would say too. I always knew Gabrielle was going to own a business at some point, and I really do feel that as well. I always saw myself being in a position of power in business, and not because I like a power trip, but because I really think that I can manage other people well. I understand being in the position of being under somebody and having so much creativity and thought and everything and wanting to contribute it to a job. So I always love the idea of being the person that actually got to help other people, show their creativity in business. Like you, like I always had the inner voice being like, the 9 to 5 is not for you, queen. Like you being in a desk and doing this for years and years to build up into a company, it's not for you. So yeah, I always knew I wanted to be own some sort of company or brand. Never knew it was going to be a personal brand incorporated. I never thought I was going to be like a personality online per se. That kind of fell into our laps. But yeah, entrepreneurship has just always been on my radar. It's always been something that I've wanted for myself and felt like I could achieve at some point.
Yeah. And this is not to shit on people that have a 9 to 5.
Not at all.
Like 1000% respect to you. I feel like a lot of my like entrepreneurial side comes from my dad. My dad's a music producer. So growing up, and he was in a band and like traveled the world. And so growing up for me, he was always in the studio, and like they would be working for months on end, recording an album, and then he wouldn't work for a few months. So for me, like that just was never really put into my head of like, oh, I should get a stable, secure job and like live a very conventional life. I always saw my dad doing what he loves, living his dream, being successful at it. And I'm like, I can do that too. He made it possible. Like he showed me that it's possible to do something that you love, do something that's unconventional, and you can be successful at it.
So we both just have kind of wild wild job backgrounds and journeys into how we got to the point to where we were actually quitting our jobs. Like we talked about, like I come from like a 9 to 5 corporate background and went to college and did marketing and everything. So when I came to Guatemala for the first time, which we touched on the first episode a little bit, it was a really transformative experience, especially for where I was at that point in my life. So 2 days into being in Antigua, I was like, okay, absolutely, I'm moving here. We're starting this company. And no doubt in my mind, it was the right decision. I had God or whatever you believe in, like truly telling me this was the decision. This is what needs to happen. So I came back from the trip. I waited to tell people, and I really started the process of me ultimately quitting my job at the time. I spent a month. I waited a month until I got back. Not because I, wanted to figure things out or was questioning the decision, but I needed time to like go through the process of starting to sell everything. So I sold my car, I sold my clothes, I sold a lot of stuff and everything. While simultaneously, I was going through a really, really tough time. It was the most exciting time in my life because I was so excited on this journey I was about to embark on. But it was also like a really, really difficult time in my life, as difficult as it was when I went through a breakup during COVID and lost my job. Another difficult time. But I came back, and unfortunately, during that time, my best friend at the time, who I was also living with, her and I were having a falling out. So I was going through a friendship breakup, and I was also caught myself in a really long situationship that should have ended a long time ago, and was also going through the process of ending that. Talking about this and having this on the internet is really going to be something. But just because I know he's going to watch. But it was a really difficult time for me, but it was once again the most exciting time. So I think I was actually going back last night doing some research for this episode, and I was looking at old videos that I had taken of myself talking to myself and talking to my future self. And I started crying because I was watching these videos and you could just tell how much I was struggling, but also I was so excited for this process. So like I said, I spent the first month really trying to sell everything. And then after that month is when I actually put in my notice to quit my job. And I took videos I took videos of myself the day that I was literally like walking out of the door, and I was so excited. And I think that the process for me personally of actually quitting my job was the easiest process ever, number one. And number two, never did I come home and sit down with my parents. I have 3 older sisters. I never sat down with my sisters, with my friends, and went, hey, is this like a good decision that I'm making? Should I make this decision to move out of the country and start this company with this girl that virtually I met recently? I never asked for anybody's opinion, and I just did it. And I think that that is such an important part to this quitting process, which is if you want to do something in life, it is your life. The only person you're in control of in life is yourself. And if you want to make something happen, you have to make it happen. If you look for other people's opinion, or you're looking for the people closest to you to support you in everything, the reality of the situation is that they probably will not 100%. Of course, I have incredible people around me. And at that time, like I had my friends, and some of my friends really supportive. Other friends, not friends with them anymore because of it. But I had a couple girls, and one girl in particular, Kayla, was the ultimate support system for me during this process. Like she was so excited for me. She made it an incredible process, even though I was going through a really difficult time. So I'm so thankful for her during this. But it's not easy, and it needs to be a decision you make for yourself.
Yeah. So huge. Asking people's opinions on something that you're doing and that you want to do, that could ruin it for you. That could ruin it. You can't let the outside noise in. That's such a good point.
Also, during this process, I was going to therapy once a week. Once a week was going to therapy because I was really trying to make sure that I was talking to my therapist about this process and explaining to her what I was doing and why I wanted to do it. And I needed an outside person that like could see it from the outside looking in going like, you seem really sure about this decision and I'm happy for you. Like, and that's really who I confided in during this time was my therapist and like the friends that were supporting me. Simultaneously during this time, friendship breakup, situationship breakup. Okay, I am confiding in this situationship who I've been entangled with for 2 years, but I was confiding in him and asking him about things, but not about his opinion. And he said something to me that I think like will stick with me forever. I actually made a piece of art with a bunch of hate that I've gotten before. And one of the things that he said to me was like, you're never going to be successful doing something like this. Like, I hope you know that. And it really stuck with me. It did. And I do think about it all the time for the purpose of like, you will have people like that in your life tell you that you are not capable of something. And if you let them make that your reality, it will be your reality. If you go against that and you go, this, like Erin said, it's proven to be possible. We know we are capable of this, but we have to ignore the noise in life and actually just go for it. Like, you will be successful at doing it. So, you know what? I'm really thankful that he said that.
Yeah. You got to use that as fuel. Use the haters are my motivators.
Haters are my motivators. But actually, and it's not like we get like this incredible amount of hate, but I think when you're making a really difficult decision, like quitting your job and doing something, what people think is really unconventional and crazy, it's so crucial to be not listening to the noise. And if you believe in it, it is your life. You need to create the life you want to live. I literally have a tattoo dedicated to this concept of it doesn't matter what it is. If you believe in it and you think you are capable of doing it, you are capable of doing it. I hate to bring this up, but we are on a floating rock in space. Like, I hate to be that person, but the moon exists and there's stars. So I just feel like 2 + 2 is 4. You're very capable of doing anything. And I do think about that concept often. I feel like we learned different things through this process because for you, it was kind of an easier process to quit and move.
Yeah, because I already decided like in December 2022, which we did talk about this a little bit in the last episode, but December 2022, my lease was ending in Orange County. I had just gotten out of a relationship that wasn't serving me anymore. I had virtually no more ties in California except like my photography business, but it wasn't like it just wasn't feeding my soul like I needed it to. I had always wanted to go and travel for a year, and like I really wanted to work in travel photography and just have a career in travel. So I was like, you know what? Now's the time. I could either re-sign a lease somewhere, San Diego, whatever, or I could not sign a lease and go travel for a year and like really try to make my dreams come true. And I have a clip of me leaving, like driving out of Orange County, and I'm like crying in the car because I'm leaving. I had everything that I owned in my car. I'd sold everything. And I'm driving back to Louisiana to go park my car and travel. But I was crying because it was hard. Like it's not that I didn't like the life that I had built in California, and I loved living in California, but I just knew that there was more out there. And I was 25. Like, if I wasn't going to do it now, when was I going to do it? It was the perfect time. So, and I had this opportunity to work with a travel company as their photographer. So that's kind of when it started everything for me. So when we decided that we were going to move here, I was already like, yeah, I have this year of travel. Like, I was very open because I really wanted to make a change in my life. I didn't want to just be shooting models in California forever. In May of 2023, my mom passed away. So that was like 2 or 3 months after we had left our trip together in Guatemala. And that was really like, when something major like that happens, it really opens your eyes to like, your problems are insignificant. Like, the things that you worry about are nothing to worry about. Like, they're so small in the grand scheme of things, and like, life is so short. You really can't let other people's opinions of you dictate how you live your life. Like, you need to do what you want to do. You need to stop caring, because life can be gone. Like, everything can change in seconds. So that really like boosted me into just kind of not giving a fuck and like putting myself out there and doing what I really want to do.
I think this is one of the things that I have always admired about Erin so much, and she has gotten me to this process. Like, the girl that I was before I started this process was not the girl that listened to the inner voice at all. I always knew I had the inner voice, but I was never listening to it. Since the day I've met Erin, she has done whatever the fuck she wants. Always, okay? Always. And I think like it's a very admirable thing, and it's a thing that you should be doing in life, which is listening to this inner voice of life is short and you go through crazy things. I don't think anybody would have known like you went through what you went through during that year, and we had one of the best years and one of the worst years ever. And especially for you going through that personally, like it's just a reminder of listening to this inner voice and really doing what you want in life without listening to the noise. We will drill it into you this episode because it's so crucial to really being happy and doing what you want in life.
Yeah, you have that inner voice for a reason, and you can't let the outside noise steer you away from following that. Like, you have to follow it. You never know what's going to happen. And if you don't follow it, you're always going to wonder, what could have happened? What could my life have been like? If I never left that year when I was 25 and like decided to travel, I would not be sitting on this couch right now. I don't know what I would be doing. I'd probably be unhappy in a relationship trying to make it work and like taking pictures of local people and just, like not living a life that I knew I could live.
100%. And I think it's not about making like a crazy decision in life. It's just the concept of, I think that you reach a point in your life where you're really comfortable, and then comfortable gets really uncomfortable, and you need to make a shift, whether it's a creative shift or it's a position shift or a company shift. It doesn't have to be quit your job and move out of the country.
Or a friend shift, switching up your friend group. If you know like you're outgrowing your friends, put yourself out there, go make some new friends. And not being afraid to try a lot of things and fail at a lot of things. I went through probably 15 different career paths. And, and if I wouldn't have tried all of those things, I wouldn't be where I am now. So like, don't be afraid to try everything, anything you might be interested in. Maybe that's the Gemini in me too.
Absolutely. You have a Taurus and a Gemini on your hands. So for all the people that are into that, let that soak in.
So if there's anything that you take away from this episode, I think I would say you don't have to be 100% ready to do anything. You just have to start. And we weren't ready at all for what we got ourselves into. We didn't even know fully what we were getting ourselves into. But we made the decision to take the jump and do it. And I'm forever grateful for our ballsiness to be able to do that.
Yeah, I think we named the episode this for a reason. Like, sometimes quitters do win. And in this equation, we did. And I think you really just got to follow what you want to do. Listen to that inner voice. And if this is your sign and you've been thinking about doing something or making some shift, let this be the opportunity to do so. It's never going to be a good time. And it's never the perfect time, I can assure you.
If you've ever made a crazy decision that changed your life, or if you want advice on a situation, DM us. We want to hear it. Let us know.
Yes, at borntobelocal.pod on Instagram. Send us a DM, or you can comment on this YouTube video. And make sure and follow us on Spotify. The audio version's on Spotify, and the video version is on YouTube, Born to Be Local podcast. Thank you guys so much for listening. If you made it to the end of this video, we really appreciate you guys. And we're excited for the next one.
We are. Thank you so much for watching.
Bye.